She was just a nurse, or at least that's what everyone in the emergency department had always thought when they saw her moving quietly through the halls, head down, hands steady, voice calm. Her name was Sarah Whitmore, and on most nights she blended into the rhythm of the hospital like a heartbeat in the background, essential, constant, unnoticed. That night began no differently. The clock over the nurses' station crept past 2 a.m., the kind of hour when the world outside felt far away and the hospital became its own universe of fluorescent lights and hushed urgency. Sarah had just finished checking vitals on a post-op patient when she felt it, the subtle tightening in the air that told her something was wrong. The first sign wasn't a scream or a gunshot, it was silence, too much of it. The usual beeping monitors in Trauma Bay 3 had gone quiet, and the orderly laughter drifting from the break room vanished mid-sentence. Sarah stopped walking. Years of emergency medicine had trained her to read chaos, but this was something else, a predator's quiet. She glanced down the hallway and saw a man step out of the stairwell, his movements sharp and deliberate. He wore a hooded jacket, his face half hidden, and in his hand was a gun that didn't belong anywhere near a hospital. Instinct told her to run, training told her to hide, experience told her neither would save the patients sleeping behind thin curtains. Sarah retreated calmly into a supply room, closing the door without a sound. Her heart pounded, but her hands didn't shake. She reached into her pocket and felt the familiar outline of a tourniquet and trauma shears. Tools. She had always believed that tools in the right hands mattered more than fear. She took a slow breath, grounding herself the way she had during countless mass casualty drills. This wasn't a drill, but she was ready. The intruder moved deeper into the ward, shouting now, his voice raw with desperation and anger. He demanded drugs, demanded access, demanded someone listen. Nurses froze. Patients cried out. Security was minutes away, minutes they didn't have. Sarah cracked the door open and studied his posture, the way his weight favored one leg, the way his grip on the gun tightened when alarms sounded in the distance. She recognized the signs of a man unraveling. She had seen it before, not with weapons, but with broken bodies and broken minds. She stepped into the hallway, making herself visible. "Hey," she said, her voice low but clear. "You don't want to do this." The man spun toward her, startled, the barrel of the gun swinging dangerously. Sarah raised her hands slowly, palms open, the universal language of calm. She spoke the way she always did with panicked patients, measured, steady, human. "You're hurt," she said, not as a question but as a fact. "You're hurt. I can see it. Let me help." For a moment, the gun wavered. The man's breathing was erratic, his eyes glassy. He took a step toward her, and Sarah took one toward him, closing the distance just enough to matter. She wasn't thinking about heroics, she was thinking about leverage, about angles, about the seconds between life and death. Her brother had been a Marine. Years ago he had taught her how to break a grip, how to move when running wasn't an option. "Just breathe," she said. When the gun fired, it wasn't aimed. The shot shattered a light fixture above them, glass raining down. In that instant of chaos, Sarah moved. She surged forward, slamming into his chest, driving her shoulder low the way she'd been taught. The gun clattered to the floor as she twisted his wrist with everything she had, pain compliance drilled into muscle memory. He went down hard, stunned, the wind knocked out of him. Before he could recover, she was on his back, her knee planted, her forearm locked under his chin, cutting off leverage without cutting off breath. Controlled, precise. Nurses screamed. Someone called for help. Sarah didn't hear them. She focused on the man beneath her, on keeping him alive even as she took him down. "Stay still," she ordered, her voice iron now. "This ends here." He struggled once, weakly, then stopped. By the time security burst into the ward, weapons drawn, the intruder was face down on the floor, zip-tied with tourniquets, breathing but beaten. The aftermath came in waves, sirens, statements, trembling hands she hadn't noticed until it was over. Sarah sat on a gurney as a doctor checked a cut on her arm, the adrenaline finally draining. Around her, people stared as if seeing her for the first time. "How did you know what to do?" someone whispered. Sarah shrugged, embarrassed by the attention. She said, "Same way I always do. I assessed the situation and acted."
The story spread fast. News vans lined the street by morning. Headlines called her a hero, compared her to special forces, said she took down an armed intruder like a SEAL. Sarah avoided the cameras. She went back to work 2 days later, back to IV lines and vitals and quiet reassurances. When a patient thanked her for saving the hospital, she smiled gently and corrected them. "I didn't save the hospital. I just did my job." But those who had been there knew better. They knew that when fear walked into their halls with a gun in its hand, it wasn't armor or weapons that stopped it. It was a nurse, calm under pressure, trained by hardship, driven by care, who proved that courage doesn't always wear a uniform. Sometimes it wears scrubs and answers when the moment calls. If you enjoyed this story and want more intense thrillers and suspenseful adventures, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and share it with friends who love a good mystery.